So Jack is on the golf course, right? And can see the hole. It's not very far from him. He reckons, I'll probably get this in the next shot, you know? Like, I think this is a hole in one. This is definitely going to work. And he's sort of teeing himself up, and he gets ready, and then just as he swings, he hears a shout, "Hey, Jack!" Oh, and he completely messes up the swing, and the golf ball does not go in the right direction. It's closer, but it's completely not in the hole. He turns around, and it's Shannon. It's Shannon who's yelled, and she goes, "Hey, Jack, I've been looking for you everywhere. I think I'm getting a cold. You know, I'm all snotty and horrible, and what are you going to do about it?" And he's like, "Look, Shannon, I appreciate your situation. Okay, I appreciate that, but I'm in the middle of something, all right? So I'll look at you, I'll check you out in a minute, okay?" So he goes over, he walks over to where the golf ball is, and he's sort of looking at it. He's like, "Well, now I'm definitely going to get it in." You know, it was basically a sure thing for before, but now the ball is much closer to the hole, so I'm definitely going to tee it in. So it's not what I wanted, but hey, it's going to be all right. So he's teeing himself up for the shot again. He's just getting ready. And right as he swings, he hears another shout, "Hey, Jack!" Oh, God, he completely messes it up again. He's fuming at this point. He turns around and it's Boone. It's Boone who's shouting at him this time. And he goes, "Hey, Jack, I've been looking for you everywhere. You know, I think I might have got what Shannon's got. I think I've also caught her cold. You know, I'm really snotty too. I don't know what to do." And he's like, "Boone, look, okay, I'll look at you both. I'll look at you both in a minute, all right? Can you just let me finish what I've got going on here?" He turns around and he sees the ball is punishingly close to the hole. It's really annoyingly close. It's just on the edge. And he's like, "Oh, couldn't have even made it in that shot." He walks over. He puts the ball into the hole. He looks at Hurley and he goes, "So what's my score?" And Hurley goes, "Double bogey, dude." Get it? Because they had cold. They had cold. I knew you were going to hate it.
Awful. You call yourself a comedian. Criminal.
Double bogey because they had colds.
I understand. It's just not good.
I thought of that earlier today and I was like, I have to do it even though it's going to be really long and you're going to hate it.
Well, you were right.
Brilliant. Welcome to Lost All Caps.
Welcome to season 1, episode 9, Solitary.
Mm-hmm. I'm Ariel.
And I'm Velvet.
I'm the one who told that incredible joke.
And I didn't like it. And yeah, how are you doing? I feel like it's been ages since we last recorded.
Yeah.
It hasn't been that long.
How are you doing? That was quite pointed. You're clearly mad at me for the joke.
And how are you?
I guess.
Let's do the pleasantries.
The formalities up.
If we have to carry on with the podcast, how are you doing, Ariel?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I was good. No, I'm good. I'm alright. I've been busy.
Yep.
I've been doing a lot of walking. I feel like every day for the last week I've done like so much walking. I haven't got a pedometer on my phone, but I feel like it's been more than 10,000 steps every day for like the last week. Which is good, I guess. I mean, exercise.
Hey, you know.
But it's been very warm and it's been a sweaty week.
A sweaty week.
Because
Lovely.
I've been doing so much walking. And I'm a big layers guy. And so I will put on like a t-shirt and then a shirt and then a hoodie and then I walk for an hour and I'm like, oh.
Well, I'll tell you what I can contribute from this week. I had a little revelation this week.
Go on.
Podcasts are to comedians what drag brunch is to drag queens.
Elaborate.
No. No, right, because like both of them, their natural habitat is like really late at night in like a pub or a club or a bar somewhere, and it's like performing on the stage to a crowd of people who were probably a bit drunk and all of this. But then some godforsaken entity has wrenched them out into the morning light to do stuff during the day.
I see, right, I see where you're coming
That's
from.
a much more sort of civilised affair.
Okay, I understand your analogy. It wouldn't be what I would go for, I don't think.
You don't agree?
If I was to draw a similarity between I don't know.
I think it makes total sense. I was seeing shrimp colours. I was like...
I mean, I don't think it's...
I cracked the code.
I don't think it's a perfect parallel, but I understand your reasoning.
Look, just because you didn't like my opening joke.
No, I've moved past that.
There's gonna be animosity for the whole episode.
I've moved past that. I'm over it. I'm zen.
Are you?
I'm calm. I'll tell you what, here's one thing that happened to me this week that we can talk about.
My bandana. Just realised I don't have it on.
Well, I mean, they're listening to us, so it's okay. Ariel doesn't have a bandana on.
Don't tell them that.
Here's one thing that happened to me this week. Last night, we were watching this episode of Lost, and I shuffled in my beanbag, and my knee, my thumbnail scraped against my knee, and I thought it was completely fine. And then I looked down and realised my knee was bleeding quite dramatically.
Yeah, it was dramatic.
For just like scratching yourself a little bit by accident. And now my knee really hurts.
Yeah. See, I feel like this has been a tradition throughout our childhoods. Like, I'm the one with really long nails, but your nails are like so blunt.
I don't know why.
Nasty and jagged.
It's like,
They're the ones that always cause the injury.
When I was younger, it was like I used to bite them, so they'd be quite jagged. And so I would understand why that would scratch, because they'd be like rough edges and stuff. But I don't bite them anymore. But they do still scratch really quite severely. I'm often like, I'll like catch myself on stuff. I'm always ripping like clothes and stuff. It's weird.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, like tights and...
Oh, okay. You made it sound quite dramatic.
No, not like t-shirts. Like... I'm not like Wolverine.
Yeah. Just taking a chunk out of your jeans, like, ugh.
But like you tights and leggings. You were wearing jeans
when you cut your knee. We forgot to mention that. You were wearing 5 layers of thermals.
Yes. I was wearing 7 layers of denim and a pair of tights over the top of that. Yeah. So... it really was a feat.
It went straight through the long johns. I couldn't believe it.
But yeah, you did cut me once with your nails.
Yeah, but you've cut me before as well.
I don't remember ever cutting. I remember cutting myself. I went through a phase. I have really weird, turbulent sleep, and I roll around a lot in my sleep. I wake up, I have weird dreams and hallucinations and stuff. And I went through a period. I like throwing in the hallucinations. It always freaks people out. I like to just chuck it in there. I went through a period where I used to wake up with scratches on my face like a baby.
I did that too. I used to wake up with scratches on my face
too. When I was
too.
like 12, 13, I used to wake up and I'd look in the mirror, like in my, putting my tie on, and I'd be like, why do I look like I've been mauled in my sleep?
Yeah, same thing. It was around about the same age. Because I remember...
Maybe it's some kind of phenomenon, hormonal phenomenon.
I was in a panto the Christmas that I was in year 7, so what, I would have been 12?
Yeah, you would have been just 12.
And I remember one day waking up with a big scratch across my nose and being like, what am I going to do? I have to go on stage!
What are they going to think when extra child number 4 has a scratch?
I know, so unprofessional.
Awful. I'm so sorry you had to go through that.
I know.
So let's talk about the episode. This feels like a good time to...
We've gone on a massive tangent, but like, to be honest, I don't think we're going to go on many tangents today, because this episode, holy fuck, is packed in with so much stuff.
This episode is so genuinely...
We have so much to talk about.
It's like masterful. Like,
yeah.
I wrote this down in relation to the flashbacks actually, but I think it kind of just works for the whole episode, as I was just like... I don't really have that much to say. I just think it's kind of perfect as it is. Mm-hmm. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, you just, no notes. It's incredible. Perfect, immaculate, amazing. Never the same, totally not ever having been done before,
Yeah. It's just, it's so good. I was saying, I think this episode easily cracks top 10 of all time.
The thing is, I wouldn't have said that if you'd asked me, like, off the cuff to rank my top 10 episodes. I don't think this would have crossed my mind. But similarly as with Tabula Rasa, I think, like, actually, I'm realising now, it's really, really incredible as an episode.
This one's better than Tabula Rasa.
This is better than Tabula Rasa, but it's a similar thing of, like, it wouldn't have popped into my head.
No, well, it would have for me, because I love Rousseau. And this is our first introduction to Rousseau.
Yes, that is amazing. I think the thing is, to be fair, I don't know what I would have said if you'd asked me, like, off the cuff to name my top 10 episodes. Because I feel like I have my favourite plot points. But a lot of the island stuff, on island stuff, sort of blends into one. So the way I kind of distinguish the episodes is by the flashbacks.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I totally get you.
Like, if you'd asked me, like, top 10 favourite plot lines that happen on the island, the golf course probably would be one of them.
You think?
Yeah, I always like it when they do something sort of sweet and happy, you know?
Yeah.
And that being in this episode is just brilliant. Because it's also, like, the dichotomy of it being that Sayid is being, like, tortured by a crazy woman, and then it's, like, hard cut to, like, you know, that one shot of Michael and Jack where they're really close together.
Bit where it's, like, you think it's all intense and they're just playing golf. Because I remember we were watching it last night and we were, like... There were a few scenes with Jack and Hurley and we were like, hang on a minute. Is this... You're not telling me that this is the golf course episode? Because the first time you see Jack is the guy with the rash. The rash guy.
Rash guy. This is also a huge episode for extras.
Yeah.
I mentioned it a couple episodes ago with Scott and Steve and the pointing woman.
She's back.
But pointing woman's back. We had another named extra, Ethan.
Yeah.
We had, I think... Well, there's the rash guy.
Yeah.
I think Scott... or Steve, I think one of them was also in the golf scene.
They might have been in the background, but I think the rash guy and Ethan are the only ones that have lines.
Yeah. But I like that, like, with the pointing lady, like, I've been able to spot her again. I think that's quite fun.
Yeah,
I'm like,
absolutely.
I know that they're using the same extras,
Yeah.
which I just think is really fun. But yeah, I love the rash guy. This is the only episode he's in as far as I remember.
Yeah. No, it is. Because that's
But
why I was confused. I was like, I'm sure he's only in the golf course episode. And then we were like,
Yeah.
no, this is the golf course episode.
He's brilliant. He's me, I think. I think if I was any character on the island... Like, we discussed this a few episodes ago, saying, like, who are you most like?
Yeah.
Genuinely, the rash guy.
Probably
Because
rash
I would
guy.
be breaking out in rashes. Most definitely.
Yeah.
And I would be like, I'm dying over here. And everyone would have to be like, listen, calm down.
Yeah.
There are other things going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I reckon I'd go and play golf. I'm really bad at golf, though. So I would...
You did a tournament when we were kids.
Yeah, but was that because I was good at golf, or was that because only like 5 people wanted to do it?
You were on the golfing team.
No, to be fair, I was on the primary school golfing team.
Yeah, I went and watched you, and I made loom bands in the field. I remember that distinctly.
Yeah, I don't know why they brought you to come and watch us.
I don't know either, but I was with someone else, another sister, I think, of someone.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who else was on the team. I don't remember anyone else.
I don't know, but this girl had the big plastic loom.
Oh yeah, the thing.
That was like the 3 rows of hooks. She had one of them, and I was like, that's so cool, you got to show me how to use it, and she did. And I was very excited.
Loom bands were actually so much fun. I know we said we weren't going to go on many tangents this episode, but can I just say, I saw a bunch of loom bands in a toy shop, or in like the toy section of a shop the other day.
Oh, right.
I think they might be making a comeback, and I hope they are, because I thought they were really good fun. I remember, I don't have any of our old loom band bracelets. We had so many. You were really good at it. I was kind of crap. But you were very good, and I remember you made me one that was a minion, and it was like a 3-row one.
No.
It was one of those 3-row ones, and it was a minion, and I loved it.
That's so embarrassing.
Because at the time, it was right after the Minion movie came out, and that was like my favourite film.
This is like you're getting peak 2013 content
Yeah.
right now.
And
Loom bands and minions.
I had a Bob the Minion lunchbox and a Minion backpack, and I would put my Minion loom band bracelet on. I think you made me a purple Minion one as well, actually.
I did indeed make you a purple minion.
And I loved it,
bracelet
and I don't think I ever would have gotten rid of them, so they must have just been sort of thrown away at some point.
Should I bring this up? Especially on air?
Do it.
I think I have them all still.
Do you have my Minion bracelet?
I reckon I do.
Oh my
I reckon I
god!
do.
I hope so. I miss my Minion bracelet.
Well, they were definitely in a bag that was in the back of... Maybe I don't have them.
I do remember finding a bunch, actually. I think when we were moving house a few years ago, I remember like putting loads up my arm, and I like took a picture and sent it to my friends, and I was like, oh my god, guys, remember these? But I don't think any of the fancy ones you made were in there.
We'll have to see.
We'll have to have a look. But that would be amazing. That would be exciting. I was really bad though. I never learned any of the complicated ones. I could only do like the ones that you did on your fingers.
Yeah. I got too into it. I don't even know why.
It was just fun.
A craze. It was like the only craze I actually did. Like we were never Moshi Monsters kids or anything like that.
No, we never did like Pokemon or anything like.
What else was there? Bin Weevils.
I
don't know if any of these things happened in America actually. So feel free to write in, Americans, if you know what.
Loom bands are.
Well, no, loom bands were pretty universal, I think.
I mean, I don't know.
I reckon they were.
I mean, probably. I'm trying to think of other stuff that people were really into when we were little.
Loom bands, of course, got banned in our school, in case you were wondering.
Fidget spinners. I had a fidget spinner. I mean, I've still got one. Because they are actually quite fun. But
no, I never got into them.
I had one, but I had friends who had, like, major, huge collections. And then they, of course, got banned as well.
I remember having a loom bands war on the top deck of the bus once.
What, the flicking them? I mean, that was why they started getting banned, I think, because that's going to go in someone's eye. I think
it was post-ban, to be quite honest. I think the ban encouraged more loom band wars.
I mean, to be honest, on the bus, I mean, who's going to enforce that?
Yeah, you'd be surprised. I think this was probably one of the days where the bus made it 2 minutes down the road and then turned back into the school, and they were like, we're not leaving till you all calm down.
This is when you were at secondary, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Of course, I'm just thinking, like, I could purely associate loom bands with primary school.
Oh, no, it was peak sort of year 7, 8 for me.
But, yeah, I mean, I guess I was in, like, year 5-ish, and when I was in year 5, you were in year 7, so, yeah. That would make sense.
It was chaos. It was chaos at the secondary school.
I mean, I can imagine, with the track record of the secondary school we went to, I can imagine things got intense. But when I was in year 7 was when fidget spinners got really big.
I see.
So I guess it was the same thing.
Probably, yeah.
I think Claire would be a massive loom bands enjoyer. Do you think?
I can see that, to be fair.
I can see her sitting in her, in the caves making bracelets for everyone. Maybe that's what she was doing this episode.
Yeah, because she's not even in the episode.
She's not in this episode. She was sleeping. Walt says she was sleeping.
Episode.
So she was, and then she was making, like, maybe she was trying to teach Walt how to make loom bands, and he was like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, I'm gonna go play with knives.
I want to go throw knives.
So, I mean, let's actually talk about the episode properly now, shall we?
Yes.
So, intro over, 20 minutes in. So, first things first, I'm a realist. Don't even know the next lyric, I can't even continue that joke. First things first, we are on a new disc.
Yes, we are.
That kind of rhymes, I could have riffed that. Didn't. We're on a new disc, and this one, girl, it's incredible. It's Charlie on the cover, and the picture on the cover is already funny. Like, the front cover of the DVD case is him, like, kind of squinting at the sun, I think. I think he's kind of like,
yeah. I think, but the thing that's quite funny about that picture, more than anything else, is that obviously disc 1 is Jack, disc 2 is Kate, and disc 3 is Charlie.
Yeah.
And then I think, 4 is Sawyer.
I can't remember.
5 is, one of them's son.
I think the last one's son.
The other one is probably John, I imagine.
Sayid.
Or Sayid. Oh no, it is Sayid. I don't know. Anyway, but what's quite funny is that the Jack and the Kate ones, they're looking, like, down, and then Charlie's looking up. Short King.
Mm-hmm.
He's, like, looking up. They've obviously lined them all up and gone, look at this barn. He's above my head.
But the actual picture on the CD is so fucking funny. The angle is so extreme. He's like, I think we've got to make some memes of this. We've got to make a Charlie No Bitches version.
Yeah.
No, wait. No Bitches Charlie's version.
Yeah.
That's all we need to make.
Can I come over and look at you like this? It's very funny and very silly, which I know is a huge tonal contradiction to the episode at large. This episode is so upsetting. It's so brilliant. It is so brilliant. I think this is one of the ones that made Mum cry. I'm not sure. The first time she watched it. I feel like I remember her saying Sayid's backstory used to make her cry. And I see why.
Yeah. It's very harrowing.
It's awful. And, like, the way that it's introduced, because actually there isn't a flashback for a really long time.
For a while, yeah.
Like, because it opens on just Sayid, which I think is a really nice way to start the episode, because a lot of the episodes they start with, like, a big amount of action, whether it's in a flashback or in, like, a scene or something, but this starts really quietly, which I think is a really nice way to have it.
And also, the episode's called Solitary.
And he's by himself.
That big shot, wide shot of the beach, and he's the only thing you can see.
And with the photos, really cool. It's very, very cool.
I mean, the pre-credits lore, you're already getting lore drop pre-credits, blew my mind when we first watched this episode. Not least of all because Sayid's one of my favourite characters right from the start. I was like, I love Sayid, he's the best.
Yeah,
When are we going to get his backstory? We need it. And then finally you see the shot of him and you're like, oh yes, it's time. Sayid's backstory episode. This is going to be great. And then, complete left turn, suddenly you see the fucking cable.
The cable
in the sand. My mind was blown. I was like, oh my god. There's some kind of...
I know, it's incredible. It's just so...
And my mind initially went to, like... I was surprised that he followed it back up into the jungle. Because I was like, follow it into the sea, girl.
I was going to ask, it was one of my questions I had written down, I was going to ask, what did you think the cable meant? I thought it was going to be to some... I immediately got this image of this sort of, like a generator or something. I don't know.
Well, I think that is what it is, right? It's some kind of, like... Do you remember in geography, hydroelectric power?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you would assume, because Rousseau is getting electricity from somewhere, and obviously the cable led Sayid to her camp, so I can only assume it's some kind of electrical source.
Yeah, but that was not where my mind immediately went. I was like, there's something secret underground. There's some kind of, like... secret, I don't even know, lair.
or I was get sort of, I thought he was gonna like pull on it, and I was like, what if he like pulls something out of the ocean?
Yeah.
Or like
Rousseau's just hanging on the end, like oh thank god, I've been down there for 16 years.
Yeah. But it's crazy. But also what I think is really crazy is he's just like, okay, time to follow this. He's not like, I need to go back and tell them that I found it.
But that's what makes it so exciting. It's like a fucking fantasy novel or something.
Yeah.
You know, it's like adventure.
It's amazing. And then,
crazy.
yeah.
But just the fact that there's electricity on the island, already mind-blowing. And then it's like, well, I mean, we know there's a radio tower.
We know there's a radio tower, but like, I mean, I don't know that much about technology.
Me neither. And so it's like, you've got the cable... Just the concept of a cable connecting something from the island to something in the sea, exciting. The concept of electricity being transmitted to the island, exciting. The concept of a woman who has been living on the island for 16 years in some kind of shack that she's built with a fucking homemade torture device installed in it, as one does. Insane.
I know, it's crazy.
Insanely
it's crazy.
Exciting.
And like, I don't know about you, but it never really crossed my mind that the French woman would still be alive.
I'm trying to remember what it was like when we were first watching it.
Like, when she was introduced, I was just like, oh, crazy, there's someone else on the island. But it wasn't like until the kind of reveal, I was like, oh, like, because to me, like, the reveal of the recording was just that other people had been there. And the fact that it was 16 years felt very final, because it felt like that's such a long time that she must be dead.
Right.
Because at this point, they've been there, like, 2 days. Multiple people have already had, like, violent deaths. Mm-hmm. So it was more felt like just like there's no escape. I don't know. Or maybe like even if I didn't think she was dead, I never thought we'd meet her. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah,
I love her.
I
honestly think she's my favourite character in the show. I'll say it.
I mean, that's crazy.
I'll say it. She's the best character. I mean, look at her in this episode.
No, she is brilliant in this episode. One of my notes I have written down just says she's so weird, I'm obsessed with her.
Yeah,
Which I think was in relation to when she leans over and puts her hand on Sayid's face.
I love that scene. it's like they're taking it in turns to confess their trauma and talk about everything that's like led up to this point. And then he says like, Nadia's dead, and she's just like goes and caresses his face, and I'm like, shoot your shot, girl, you know, go for it.
And it's also just like, it's so crazy to think like she hasn't seen another human being for like 16 years. Mm-hmm. So like that must be so like, of course she's acting completely wild and insane. Mm-hmm. No, it's brilliant. I love her so much. I think like this episode is so brilliant for learning how incredible Sayid is in general, but also Sayid being the most useful survivor.
Yeah.
Because I think truly if you put anyone else in that situation, it would have gone completely differently. Like apart from maybe like, no, I was going to say Kate would maybe, but I think she would be too on the offensive and she would try and attack Rousseau.
Yeah.
And escape, and then that would go badly for her.
Yeah.
The only person I think that could would have not gotten probably murdered by Rousseau would be Claire, because we learn obviously at the very end of the episode that Danielle lost her child, her Alex, and so I think meeting a pregnant woman, she'd be like, I will not give you electric shocks.
Yeah, she would be like, we need to protect her. Maybe. I reckon John would probably also vibe. He'd match her freak.
I think John would like stay with her, like, you know, when like, you know, when she's like, I need someone to stay with me to talk to, okay. He'd be like, yeah, let's stay here, tell me more about these whispers. 100%.
Because we also know, so like, oh, the lore drop is insane. So the thing with the whispers, when you first hear it, you think like Sayid, you're like, oh, she's losing her mind because she's been alone for so long.
It's the delivery as well, the way she delivers it. It's just like a whisper, and you're like, oh, she crazy. I
love that scene. It's acted so well by both of them. You can even see that she's got tears in her eyes when she's like, you think I'm insane, and it's like, oh my god, no one believes her, you know. Yeah. But it also, like, does she even believe it herself? Oh, I think it's great. Anyway, and then you sort of hear them at the very end of the episode, right? And it's like, so we know that there's some kind of creature on the island, but it's very noisy, right? We know that much. We hear it stomping around. So is that the same thing as the whispers? We don't know. Are they other people? Is the creature a person, a man-made thing? Like,
is it this like sickness that Danielle talks about?
We'll get on to the sickness, girl, because we've got even more lore to go into there. But my point is, John he's looked into the eye of the island, hasn't he? He's seen the creature. So I feel like he would match Danielle. Danielle's probably seen the creature, I'd imagine.
I mean, probably.
She's been there for 16 years.
I mean, surely.
She's at least come across it.
She must have done.
Maybe it set off the trip line, and then she comes and she looks at the trap and she's like, huh? What the fuck?
Can you imagine like a dinosaur or something getting caught in that like net? That'd be hilarious. I mean, surely, because also like when she goes up, she like climbs out when she hears the noise, and Sayid is like, you have to stop, it might be that like that thing or whatever it is he says.
Oh, I forgot they even referenced it. Yes.
And she seems like entirely unfazed by that.
She says there's no such thing as monsters, didn't she?
Yeah. So maybe she's heard it, but she thinks it's whatever the whispers, the other people that she thinks are on the island.
Yeah, maybe.
Something I actually really liked at the beginning of the episode in regard to the traps is that Sayid spots the tripwire and steps over it and then immediately gets caught in the next trap. But I was like, the fact that he spots it, you're like, he knows what's up.
It felt like something out of a Simpsons episode, though.
Yeah.
You know, like, the tripwire immediately trips over a second tripwire.
Yeah.
A second smaller tripwire.
A second secret tripwire.
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah, here's a question. How long do you think Sayid was caught in that trap?
Oh god,
because,
for a few hours at least.
How frequently does she go around and check those? Because we know it's dangerous to go outside, and surely, I don't know how many she has or how close they are to her house, but it's like, surely she can't be constantly keeping tabs on them, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, when he gets caught, it's like, it's daytime, and then when we see him again and he's all passed out, it's dark. So at least for a few hours.
Just hanging there.
Just hanging out.
God,
And then she knocks him out.
He immediately gets stabbed. I forgot about that.
Stabbed in the leg, yeah.
Oof.
He gets so
Grim.
injured in this episode.
Oh my God.
It's awful.
Do you know one detail that I really love about this episode is Danielle once again just crossing every boundary possible. When she looks at his leg and she's like, "You've got a bullet wound," and he goes, "Oh, I used to be a soldier." But then we see how he gets the bullet wound.
No, I thought that was brilliant.
I'm eating that up. Oh, it's so good.
That scene, that one flashback scene where he frees Nadia, that's gotta be, that might be like favourite Sayid moment.
What at all?
Just in general.
It's up there with his best moments completely.
It's just everything about it is just so brilliant, because it's like his trajectory over the flashbacks is, it seems like he, you know, he talks about getting promoted in the army, and it seems like he's really like, he's in like a twisted way is enjoying it, and he's good at what he does.
He's committed to his career as a soldier, right?
And that like all it takes is Nadia, but then he, you know,
it seems like he starts to doubt what they're doing. Like, because obviously he's a torturer, right? Mm-hmm. But she goes, "This is not my first interrogation. Look at these scars where they burnt me and they drilled my hands," and all this really graphic stuff. He can't look at what she's saying.
It's so that it's like being forced to confront that the people that he's been torturing are like real people. I think like the fact that this is like he's known Nadia since they were like really young children, to know that like all the people that he's been doing that to had like childhoods and have families and sisters and parents and, you know, best friends that they haven't seen for decades that could be, you know, in the army too. It's like, it's all... And that you really... And also because he says that Nadia's dead, like, you really think he's going to take her for execution.
Yes.
And it's going to be that, like, that's why he keeps the pictures of her. But no.
And then it's like, he says that she's dead, but then he says the only thing that's like, he's been holding on for years, the thing that's kept him going
to a hope that she's still alive.
That she's still alive.
That she escaped.
What does that mean to say she's dead and then, but I secretly believe she's alive somewhere? Or like, I have to believe that. And what changes in his relationship with Rousseau that it makes him confess that? Do you know what I mean? It's so good.
Like, it's safer to just say that she's dead than for him to explain and say that he's been hoping she's still alive. I loved that as well. I wrote that down. The you'll find me in the next life if not in this one. I just thought that I see loads of like posts and stuff being like best quotes in Lost. That never makes it in. I think that's a great encompassing of the the vibe of the show. I think that's really brilliant. You know, everyone talks about if we can't live together, we're going to die alone, which, sure, that's a good quote, but also it's in so many flashbacks, it kind of loses its impact.
Agreed.
But yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about the flashbacks since we're on them. I think the dialogue is so good in these flashbacks. I think it's really well written. Apart from like the, "Are you going to hurt me? I'm going to hurt you" stuff. That I'm a bit like, that's a little bit cringe. But it's good when it comes up later on where she goes like, "Are you going to hurt me?" And then he just says, "Put the bag on." And it's like, "Worse, I'm going to kill you," essentially is the subtext.
Yeah.
That's good. But I think in the initial scene between him and Nadia, it's like... Also,
like, sorry to cut you off, but I'm going to forget if I don't say it. With the hood, with "Are you going to hurt me? Put the hood on." It's like, she would never, if he had taken it, she would never know if he was the one who did it.
I just think the dialogue in those flashbacks is so good, and Andrea Gabriel, who plays Nadia, is like such a brilliant actor. She delivers those amazing so well. Like that first, I love the line, "Am I so different from the little girl who used to push you in the mud?"
Yeah.
Because not only is that like sweet, but it's also like, it's a way of saying we grew up together without saying we grew up together. Do you know what I mean? I think it's clever. And my favourite delivery of hers is... Oh, God, I wrote it down. I won't have these visits to look forward to anymore.
You know, I had a feeling that was the line you were going to say, because I was like, that is brilliant.
It's delivered in such a good way. She has this kind of like dejected look on her face, but she's still being really strong, right? But she's trying to sort of like joke, but it's done in such a dry way that there's like no humour there. There's no humour left in her, and it's like, oh, I just think it's brilliant. You know?
It's incredible. And it's like, the way like her character is written and like portrayed in general is just so brilliantly done. Of like, she's not like argumentative, she's just like, she's very kind of calm, even in such a horrifying situation. Like, she's so collected, and she's so just like, I'm not going to tell you anything, says that in the same way that she talks about their childhood. And like, it's just all so brilliant.
I mean, we talk a lot about the writers hating women a little bit. Like, the writers not writing good female characters or female dialogue feeling weird and unnatural. But this is a good episode for women.
Genuinely, this is a great episode for women. And I think, actually, like, saying, you know, she's so calm and composed, it's just kind of occurred to me while I was talking that Sayid as well is incredibly sort of collected and calm, and the only real genuine emotion we get from either of them is that scene where he shoots the other soldier. And I think that's really, really brilliant. I
guess that's because it's like,
suddenly the desperation in them both comes out.
They've broken the established rhythm, right? Because even though it's a really horrific situation, it's kind of like, it's his day job, you know. He does do this all the time,
and they've been kind of pretending that it's all right, and it's just calm and it's fine. And then,
but you get the manicness.
Suddenly there's that crazy desperation of just like, you have to come with me, and then just like, I can't, they'll kill my family. And it's just like, it's so desperate.
Oh my God.
And suddenly you're like, oh, like, he really doesn't want to be there, you know? Like, it kind of comes across that he's very involved, and like you say, committed to his career. And suddenly of that just being like, he can't leave. Even if he wanted to leave before Nadia was there, he can't, because if he deserts, then they'll kill his family, and that's like a horrible thing to have over your head. It's that scene is brilliant.
And also, like, you know, you say you get the kind of camaraderie with his superior officer at the beginning, and then he has to kill him.
Omar.
Yeah, I mean, that's intense. Is this our first kill of the show?
Ooh, like first kill of one person by another person?
By another person.
Ooh, well,
Jack,
there's Jack and the Marshal, if you would count that as a kill.
Good point.
Because he does have to sort of put him out of his misery.
Yeah.
But this is as a direct, like, you know, a shoot to kill like situation that hasn't happened.
Backstory about when we first watched the show, I attempted to make a spreadsheet which had all of the characters' kill counts on it, basically. How many people they'd killed, and I had separate columns. I had like on island, pre-island, you know. And it was like, it
was brilliant. Under John's we had like one boar.
Yeah, we did.
We had like many boar.
Yeah. For gin we had like many fish. But I don't think it's accurate, you know.
I think it was accurate up until sort of like series 5, and then we just kind of lost track.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, we had confirmed kills, and then like, I think under Sayid actually we had classified.
We did.
As his pre-island kills, because we were like, he has this one confirmed kill, but if he was in the army, there's an assumption
he's probably
killed people before. So we were kind of like, at least one.
I hope that's not revealing too much, that we're gonna get more people killing each other.
I mean, I don't think so. I think it's fine.
But yeah, funnily enough, that spreadsheet is called Lost All Caps.
It is,
because
that's fun.
That was what I decided to title it after Mum had said it, and it made us laugh.
Yeah, and my did we mention this already? My TikTok save folder, it's called Lost All Caps as well. My my TikTok edits.
It's so weird because, like, obviously we're not that far into the podcast. We're coming up to our 10th episode next week. But, like, already the phrase has lost all meaning to me.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know, it's like one of those things.
It's gotten to a point now where whenever I type the word lost in general, my phone autocorrects it into capitals. And, like, the other day I was messaging someone and I was like, oh my god, like, I've lost my phone or something. But, well, not phone, obviously, because I was typing on my phone.
Texting.
But it was like, I've lost my keys. And they were like, why are you yelling? I was like, sorry, king. You know, in that scene, you mentioned the camaraderie between him and the other soldier, and saying like, oh, you don't have to call me sir in private. Mm-hmm. Something in that scene that I really, really loved is how when Nadia walks past for the first time, all the sound kind of dims, and you see her, and you kind of, even if you don't recognize that she's the woman in the pictures,
which, come on, we've seen her face 2 minutes ago.
Which, you know, but even
Connect
if you,
the dots here, again.
Even if you don't, you know
Yes.
that that's her based on the cinematography surrounding that scene. But something I really love is that even though Sayid is visibly distracted by her, he doesn't get distracted. He's still listening to what Omar is saying. I
love that too.
I think that's such a brilliant feature of his character. It's like a tiny thing, but it really kind of represents, it's a great kind of indication of a lot of his characters, that he's always aware, and even when you know that he's focusing on that, he's still listening to the other soldiers, so much so that he can give like a very put together and composed answer.
Yeah, I also think it's good cinematically because, like, televisually,
I think it would still be cinematically.
We'd
still call it cinematography. That's still the composure of any shot in
televisionography. The televisionography, right, is really good because it's like so often you get like, what? Huh? You know? And it's like, it's always a bit cringe. And it was really good because it's like we know exactly what's going on. Do you know what I mean? We understand the processes that we've gone through here. Absolutely.
I think also what's brilliant about that first flashback is the transition of it being Sayid is tied to the bed and he's being electrocuted, and he's like, please stop, and then it cutting to him being the one who's inflicting that pain.
Completely. I wrote that down as well. I wrote torturee to torturer.
Yeah. It's really
and also
amazing.
Given the context of the previous episode as well.
Yeah.
Because like this kind of is like right in the sort of forefront of his mind. He's immediately having to confront his past, and then suddenly he's like confronting his past in a real tangible way. I mean, maybe this is some
feeling
kind of,
the pain that he is inflicting on others. Yeah.
Some kind of karma or something.
Yeah. I think that first scene where he wakes up in the like underground is so incredible.
Yeah.
Something I noticed this time around is that Rousseau, while he's like coming to and you can hear her speaking, she asks him where's Alex in lots of different languages.
Yeah, I didn't notice that until this watch through as well. Yeah.
And I think that's really, I mean,
Donde está Alex.
No, it's fun, and like I think it's great that we get that of her character, that she, you know, speaks all these languages, and also that she has never met these people. And we know that, we kind of get told that before we get told it, you know?
Because she doesn't know what language they speak.
Because she doesn't know what language Sayid speaks, she just knows that she thinks that he's one of these other people. And like, yeah, it's not until he speaks in English that she then continues the conversation in English.
I was gonna say something sillier.
Go on.
I was gonna say, this episode respects women, okay? We've got a woman who, she can speak multiple languages. She's a woman in STEM, you know. She's a wife and a mother, but she still shoots her husband in the head. You know, women can do it all.
She's got everything.
She does. I love her. I literally love Rousseau. She's so cool as a character.
She's
rifle,
brilliant.
Come on.
That, like, the power in when she just goes, Robert didn't notice either.
I'm lying on my bed and I'm kicking my feet like a schoolgirl.
I'm clawing at the walls of my enclosure.
Oh my god. It's like, Oh,
And
she
you're like,
fucking shot
fuck.
him in the head.
Because it's like, before that, she's just like, they all got sick and they all died.
Yeah.
And that's like, oh my god, this is so tragic. She's been the only person to avoid this illness. And then she's like, no, they all got sick, so I had to kill them.
And like, I don't know if you thought this at the time, but it's like, did they get sick or did she get sick?
She gets sick, yeah. Maybe
And
she thought they were
thinks
all
that they're
acting
sick
weird.
because she's got some kind of illness.
And I think that's definitely what's going through Sayid's head.
Yeah, totally.
When he's standing there with the gun.
I can't believe he pulls the trigger on her.
I know.
Like, what the fuck?
After all they've been through.
After that tender moment where she touched his face for no reason.
After he offered to fix her music box and she's injected him with...
Oh, I love
sedatives.
that scene as well, because it's just like, this is why I love Russo, because like, she's everyone, like, you know, she's like saying, you think I'm insane, and referring to her as like crazy and stuff, but she's not, she's very like methodical.
Yeah.
And in her madness, I guess.
No, it's really brilliant, and that like, that you think, when he says that, and then she like gets the syringe out, you like, I was thinking like, oh, he's crossed the line,
yeah,
like, and she's angry with him, but then it's actually that
she has such a composure on her face when she's doing it as well. She's like, oh well, I know immediately what I have to do.
She's
now.
like, I have to knock him out, and then I'm going to tie him to the chair, and then he can fix my music box for me. Like, it's
that transition as well. When he wakes up, he's like panicking. He stands up. Oh, the chains go everywhere, and she's sat there like, sorry about the sedative. Is it? Was that what she says? Yeah, sorry about the sedative.
She's like,
obsessed.
Can you still fix
I'm
my music box?
obsessed.
She's so brilliant.
I drew a little diagram. Do you want to see?
Brilliant.
Maybe we can put that as the little bonus slide after the Charlie memes.
Maybe we can.
If you want to see my beautiful drawing.
It's brilliant and amazing and insane.
And that needle, oh my god, it was so rusty and horrible.
It goes so far into his arm. No, it freaks me out. Needles, I'm not particularly scared of needles.
No, I'm not. But
they do freak me out when they get, it's like watching them go in is what freaks me out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm fine with getting like injections or getting blood taken or whatever, but it's like, as long as I don't look at it. Or like, I could see the needle first, but then I'm like, now I have to look away, because if I see it go into my arm, then it'll freak me out, you know?
Yeah, I don't think I'm quite the same. I mean, I never look, but that's mainly because it's like, I'm like, I know it's gonna hurt, so I don't know, if I
you
know
like
it's
see
coming,
it approaching, you like psych yourself up. Yeah,
but it's the blood for me. I'm not good with blood.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're not great.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we've discussed Sayid. Let's talk about the golf subplot a little bit. We'll come back to Sayid. I've got more to say about Sayid, but I want to talk about the golf stuff.
I don't know if I do have more to say. It's just that he's great. And Russo's great.
I just love him.
I love Russo. I love Nadia. I love all the characters we get introduced to in this episode. Rash Guy. We love Rash Guy.
Something like, I love the concept of the golf course. I love the return of the red Hawaiian shirt as well, because when Hurley was going through the bags, he held it up and I was like, ooh, that's fun. I was like, oh, you know, if I was on the island, I'd be putting that on. I'd be like, fun.
That's very you. I feel like you've worn that exact shirt in a previous episode of this. Play the tapes.
Probably. I mean, I've worn my Hawaiian shirt a few episodes ago.
Play the tapes.
I think for White Rabbit, off the top of my head. Yeah, and then that was the flag.
Yeah, I know, because he goes like, oh, hell yes, or something, and it's like, huh?
It was like, a shirt? Question mark. I think the golf course is so funny. I also think it's a really fun way of, like, you know, in like sitcoms where there's a plot line that's got nothing to do with, like, there's a plot line that's just focused on like one character or a side character, and then there's like cutaways to random scenes, and you know it's because contractually they all have to be in the episode. This plot line in a positive way was kind of giving that a little bit. Like, it's like the random bit on the beach with like Boone and Shannon and Kate, where Boone's like, you'll never guess what. And I'm like, why are you guys here? You guys don't need to be here. Well, I have written down about that scene, I've just got a note here that says Boonehead. Bonehead, because Shannon calls him Bonehead.
Oh my god.
And I just went Bonehead.
And you thought my puns were bad?
I never said your puns were bad. I said I hated the joke. But also, I love...
Did you get it, though? It's because...
I understand
It's because they both have colds, so both...
I like that one shot of Charlie and Hurley where they're like waving the golf clubs in the air.
I love that bit.
I like it. I love when Charlie like is like, let me. It's brilliant. We get Charlie says bollocks in this episode. I've got a note here that just says bollocks.
Me too. I've got bollocks written down.
I think is great. Yeah, no
I don't
pressure.
know how many instances of bollocks we get. This might be our only bollocks.
But possibly the most shoehorned in character to this episode is Sawyer.
Oh my god.
So I've got some great notes surrounding Sawyer in this episode. I have when he's like doctor playing golf. What next?
Now I've seen everything.
Cops eating a donut. I just was thinking about. I was thinking about fork found in kitchen. Have you heard about that?
No.
To being like, oh, what, a doctor playing golf, fork found in kitchen, like a headline, like a news headline.
Okay.
I don't know where it came from. My friends just say it a lot.
Okay.
But it would be like, I'll be like, guys, I just bought a really ugly shirt, and then they reply, fork found in kitchen.
Yeah.
I was like, Sawyer started it.
Okay.
But also, my favourite, though, was when he's like, 2 tubes of sunscreen, says that he chokes it, and then it was like,
yeah, what the hell was the musical score all about? Uplifting music playing.
I've written dramatic, inspiring music. I think that's what Netflix would subtitle it as.
Yeah. I think, what did I write?
It's just after...
Oh, why the uplifting music when Sawyer arrives?
Yeah, because it's like Kate, I guess, has the whole thing of being like, make an effort from one out. So this, I guess it's supposed to be like, oh, character development.
It is, but it's just unnecessary.
But it's just so funny because it's like such a... It's like a stupid throwaway jokey line.
Yeah.
And then it's like... I feel like this has happened once before. Oh no, you know
I'm
what?
a complex guy, sweetheart. Boo boo.
Is that, but also earlier in the episode is the opposite happens.
Oh yeah.
There's a bit where it's like a random Kate and Jack scene before like the titles, where Kate's saying like Sayid's been gone for 2 days, like what could have happened to him, and Jack's like he's gonna come back, just give it time. And it's like
some of the dialogue in that is quite good though, right?
But it was just like Jack said something, but there was background noise. There's like, you can hear people on the island. I think there's also a bit of music, and then like Jack says something, and then like Kate said like, oh yeah, accidents happen when you torture people, and then it cut back to Jack, and it was just suddenly a deafening silence. It was like a really long shot where he didn't say anything, he was just like looking at her, and then it was like they turned off all the background noise and it just really made me laugh.
I didn't notice that. I didn't notice the background noise cutting
Did you not
out.
notice the deafening silence? Because you laughed.
Did I?
Yeah.
I think I was like, oh, that line's actually kind of good. Like...
It is a good line, but it was just overshadowed by the massive silence afterwards.
I don't remember. Maybe I did notice it and did laugh.
Oh, here's something I've got written down. That one bit when Sayid's dangling from the tripwire, and then he wakes up and then immediately gets knocked out again and like tied to the bed. Could it have been Rousseau who hit him in the head and stopped him from finding the radio tower?
Ooh, yeah, could have been.
Because Sayid was like, no one in this camp would want to hurt me apart from Sawyer.
Oh my god,
but it couldn't have been Sawyer.
Someone who's not in the camp.
Who's not in the camp, who could potentially have ulterior motives for not wanting other people on the island to get to the radio tower because she thinks that they're all part of the others.
Yeah, but then if she knocked him out, then wouldn't she just drag him straight away to her cabin?
Maybe, but maybe not. Maybe she would want them to find him and be like, this is a threat or something.
I mean, hey, we don't know. Her motives are
unclear in every situation.
Yeah. But yeah, I wrote down as well that everyone's just so done with Sawyer's bullshit at this point as well.
Yeah, I like that. I appreciate that.
Jack said that was like, I'm here because no one else wanted anything to do with you.
Yeah, that's right at the beginning. He's like doing his arm.
Yeah, so he's trying to like be like, so is this why you've come to patch me up then, Doc? And he's trying to be like all like, I don't really know, get leverage
flirty.
on him. No. Maybe flirty.
Question mark.
And trying to like outdo him, I guess, or trying to be like,
I don't know what he's trying to do. He's trying to piss him off, I think.
But Jack's just like, shut the fuck up at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone's just done with him at this point. Something else I love about the golf course plotline is the you didn't hear about the polar bear? Great line.
Yeah.
Great line from Charlie there, where Michael's just like, polar bear.
You didn't hear about the polar bear? I love that. I love the random bits like that as well. Like when Rousseau as well goes, if we're lucky, it's one of the bears.
Yeah. So there's more than one?
There's a shit ton of polar bears on the island, apparently.
She's killed more polar bears? Question mark?
Yeah, probably. I can see her, like, you know how everyone's like, oh my god, Jaw? Oh my god, Jaw!
Oh my god, Jaw!
Jaw is here, guys! My favourite character. Oh my god, John is like so like badass, and like his 3,000 knives or whatever it is that Charlie says, and like he's skinning the boar and stuff, he's covered in blood and whatever. And then like Rousseau is like, child's play. She's fully skinning a polar bear.
I could see her covered in blood, dragging a polar bear around. No, for sure. I really, really do see that for her. But yeah, I love that you didn't hear about the polar bear, because also it's like they aren't sharing everything.
Yeah.
Like, I like that, like, clearly in the beginning they were like, we can't tell everyone about the polar bear and about the monster because it'll freak them out. But they've gotten to a point where they're just chatting.
Yeah.
But they're also like...
Still not, yeah.
Although Hurley somehow knows about the polar bear. Charlie probably told him.
Yeah.
Charlie doesn't really keep secrets.
Let's talk a little bit about Hurley's monologue when he reveals the golf course.
Yeah.
I think that's brilliant.
I love that. Of just being like, we have to have something to do, we have to have fun.
To have fun, that's right, I said it, fun. You know, I think it's like, you're talking about good quotes. I think that's a brilliant monologue.
No, I think that's a brilliant moment. I love that for Hurley as a moment as well, in just like him being kind of... He's always the comic relief, but I like that this is kind of like, it's not just a character archetype that he's around to make the audience laugh, but he's also trying to make the characters happy. You know?
And he has such a huge impact, as like Jack explains later on in the episode, being like, you know, I've been spent all this time trying to make everyone feel safe. Hurley builds a golf course, suddenly everyone feels safe. You know, It has a huge impact, and it's like, it is ridiculous when you first hear about it, because you're like, they're fighting for their lives and he's built a golf course. But actually, it's brilliant.
No, it is brilliant, and I think that's very well encompassed by the rash guy as well. Yeah. How he's like, he's freaking out, and then he just goes, can I play? Yeah. And it's like, yeah.
Totally. And I actually think that Hurley's monologue can be read as like, can be read. This is the English lit student.
Analyse it.
I think it can be read as a metaphor for like the kind of production of TV as well, a little bit, because it's like nowadays seasons of shows are getting much shorter, and we've kind of had the death of filler episodes, right? And it's like, the one argument is, you know, why would you don't want filler, right? That the whole word, the whole terminology sounds negative, right? Like, just cut all of that and we'll get down to the nitty gritty of the show.
Yeah, the whole idea was that they needed to fill out 20 episodes, so they would put in random plot lines that meant nothing.
Yeah. But actually, I've seen a lot of people, myself included, kind of lamenting the death of filler episodes, and like when characters are allowed to kind of have fun little side quests, you know, or like do things that aren't necessarily furthering the plot. Much like the golf course, right? So I think his thing saying like, we can't just be always waiting for the next bad thing to happen, we need to do something in the meantime, is kind of like almost like a statement saying, you know, advocating for filler episodes and being like, hey, let's bulk out this series a bit with some more, let's get some more well-rounded characters, let's let them have some fun.
No, absolutely.
And it becomes a more entertaining watch as a result of that.
No, I really agree with that, actually. I think I love filler, and I think often as well, like, being in fandoms for TV shows that are much more that kind of, 8 to 10 episodes where everything's really intense, everyone's favourite scenes are the ones that are just fun. Everyone's favourite scenes are the silly ones, and you get endless YouTube compilations of, like, the characters just being fun and silly and the little bits of dialogue that are just casual. And it's like, imagine how much more fun we would all have if those were allowed to happen over whole plot lines and whole episodes and allowed to be stretched out.
Yeah. And
even over the course of this show, you kind of witness the death of filler. Like, I think these early episodes, we have so much plot, like, so many. We have, like, an A plot and a B plot, but also often a C and a D plot. And we have so much sort of random filler of just bits of their lives and what's happening on the island and what's happening with all the other characters. And the more it goes on, the more that drops away. And it just becomes, like, the bare bones of progressing the story. And I think... there's a reason why everyone loves series 1. Like, everyone kind of, like, people have their favourite seasons, of course. My favourite season is 2.
Same here.
I know a lot of people really like 5, actually, even though that has some of the least filler. But I think, like, a lot of people kind of widely agree that series 1 is the best in terms of composure of the characters and the story. And I think that's because they allow for... almost all the characters have something happening in every episode, even when it's not something really dramatic and life-threatening and crazy. They all have something going on.
Yeah.
And they all have fun over the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Look at us having serious conversations. Dropping our manifesto in the comments. Yeah, no, totally. I mean... this episode has a kind of D plot, right? Should we talk about that? We've got Walt and John.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like...
it's very small. It's only a couple of scenes.
But you get, like, sort of John and Ethan coming in, and then Walt trying to go, and Michael being like, nah, come back to bed. And then, like, the Michael just going off to the golf course, which Loki...
I know, it's very funny.
Yeah.
I love that. No, it's sweet because it is a bit like he's sort of learning the ropes of being a dad a little bit more. I like that he admits that he was wrong and he apologises.
Oh, definitely. No, I do really
because
like
that's something that in a lot of parent-child relationships just doesn't really happen. And I really like that from Michael, that he says, like, I'm sorry that I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have left you.
Definitely. And I think especially in media, especially with dads in media.
Oh, for sure.
Especially with dads in media in 2004, you don't get that kind of relationship.
And dads of colour as well.
Oh, yeah, totally. So it is really nice.
It's really lovely. And then, like, yeah, maybe slightly negated by the fact that he then goes, okay, we can play later. I'm going to finish my golf game.
I'm going to go golf.
Just a teeny tiny bit negated.
Just a little bit. But that scene with John and Walt at the end.
Oh, it's so fun.
I find it so fun.
It transitions into a knife hitting a tree.
And you just see John at first, and then he goes, does your father know you're here?
And
then you're like, oh, Walt's here. And it pans over, and he does
so
the cutest
cute
little face. He's like...
it's like so, and it's the way it like goes down as well. And you're like, oh, he's so little. No, and it's just like, can you teach me how to do that? And I'm like, don't give that boy a knife.
But yeah,
John and Walt comes back.
Yeah, like we talked about how in like Walt and Locke's first scene, it was quite cool how like the way that they conversed and the way that they're kind of just friends despite being the oldest and the youngest. He doesn't really patronise him, but he takes it to a bit of an extreme here. It's like, no, don't patronise him, but also don't irresponsibly give a child a hunting knife.
It's like, yeah, you talk to the kid like he's an adult, but don't trust him with a massive knife.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting as well, because then that's the last you see of it in that episode. So it's a bit like, what is going to happen?
The episode ends quite abruptly, I feel.
It does end quite abruptly. You hear the whispers and then it just cuts off. But I think that's brilliant.
Hearing the whispers is very cool.
Because also, like, first of all, Rousseau isn't crazy. Mm-hmm. She is. There are whispers in the woods. Yeah. Or has Sayid been driven mad? Has he caught this sickness from Danielle?
Yeah. Or has he been conked on the head so many times?
So many times in the period of 24 hours.
A little bit, confused.
Maybe he's like, it's the power of suggestion. It could be that he's listening for these noises. But also, the fact that it cuts off in that scene what's gonna happen to him? Like, he is in the woods alone, he's injured.
No one knows where he is.
Nobody knows where he is, apart from Danielle, who just tried to kill him. Like, they all assume he's just gonna come back whenever. They're not gonna search for him if he gets taken or if he gets killed. He's all by himself, and he's hearing these whispers that supposedly took Danielle's baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that admittance of who Alex is like an indication from Danielle that she trusts that Sayid isn't one of them. Because when he keeps asking, who's Alex? Was Alex your husband? Who is he? She never answers, and obviously it's because she thinks he knows. But I think that's an acknowledgement of, like, I trust you, and I know that you're not one of them, which I really like.
Russo has so many great lines in this. When she's like, "You're still lying," I'm like, it's just so...
You know what other line I love in this episode? What? Is when Sayid, it's a bit on the nose, it's a bit of like a John heavy-handed metaphor moment, but I do think it's really lovely, is when Sayid fixes the music box and she's like, wow, like, you did it, and he says, like, see, some things can be fixed.
Yeah, it again is a little heavy-handed, but I agree, I think it's really cool.
It's really lovely. And also I think, like, with Sayid, at the end he says to Danielle, he asks, like, come with me, come back with me. I think that's almost like him gearing up to say, you know, you don't have to be here alone. You can be fixed, you know, you can come back with me.
This problem of your loneliness can be fixed. Yeah. It's so...
I love those two so much.
Yeah. It's so well acted. Like, I'm thinking as well about, like, the bit where she's kind of, like... It's all very, like, kind of scary. Like, the way that she has him tied up and stuff. Scary. And is, like, torturing him and electrocuting him.
No matter how much he tells the truth, she thinks he's lying. So it's like she could just keep electrocuting him until he tells her what she wants to hear. And he doesn't know what she wants to hear.
Yeah, it feels like there's no escape for him. But also, like, when she sort of, like, goes, you can't leave. It's not safe. You need me. I loved all of that bit.
Oh, it's brilliant. Because it's also, like, it's so sweet in a really sort of twisted way.
Yeah.
That she's saying, you know, she's survived on her own for all these years and she doesn't think she wants him to survive with her. And she needs him to understand all the dangers of the island.
Yeah. It felt very kind of, like, misery coded.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like, I'm your biggest fan. I love you so much. You can never leave.
Stay here with me.
Yeah. It's just, yeah, it's really good. And I love her monologue as well. I love the way that's shot as well. The televisography is so good. It's like, she kind of, like, looks off into the distance a bit and Sayid is out of focus in the background and she's remembering everything. And then even when he starts to speak, it doesn't focus back in on him, which I like.
Yeah, that's really
It's
great.
a similar thing with, like, Nadia walking past and we don't hear what he says, but we know Sayid hears what he says. It's a similar thing.
It's kind of like the opposite thing of that. Like, even though the focus switches to Sayid, our focus is still on Danielle.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's brilliant. Everything about this episode is brilliant. I mean, I have the only note I think I have left that I haven't...
Oh, God, I've got about 3 pages. I don't know if I've got everything.
Discussed already. It just says, like... It's like, it's a shame because the episode is so brilliant, but... Generally, my main takeaway from the whole thing is just, like, Sayid's beautiful, sad eyes. Most of the episode, I was just like, oh, he's so gorgeous. Can I just say?
He really is. Yeah.
And he's got such big... I love his eyes so much.
We have a lot of close-ups. A lot of
close-ups. I really love brown eyes. I'm such a diehard fan of brown eyes. And he's got such, like, beautiful eyes. And they're very emotive as well. And a lot of this episode involves him not really being allowed to give away his true feelings. Which means there's a lot of these kind of micro-expressions that I really love. Him clearly trying... Like, when he speaks with Rousseau, it's like... He's trying to stay really sort of impartial and really kind of gentle with her, and he's never says, you know, that she's crazy or anything like that. That's all, like, kept under the surface. I think it's really brilliant.
No, the acting from those two is so good. It's like, And him and Nadia as well in all the flashbacks.
It's just so incredible.
Yeah.
It's just a really great chance for, like, Naveen Andrews to shine, I think, in this episode.
Completely.
Like, we just get this amazing representation of how much of a brilliant actor he is.
And as you were saying, like, or maybe you weren't saying, but it made me think of it when you were talking about Sayid being kind of aware of everything around him. I also think he's probably one of the best adapters to different social situations.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're like, oh, he's the only one who could have survived that encounter with Danielle. I think part of that is because he knows what to say and what not to say in that kind of situation. And as you say, like his sort of microfacial expressions.
He's clearly very experienced in, like, a lot of different, very tense situations and how to deal with them.
He's not given anything away. Yeah. Completely. Okay, I'm gonna power through some of the random notes that I have.
Oh,
left.
I've realised actually I lie. I have one more note before you start powering through. Is just in reference to Sayid's adaptability and his practicality. Is that before he runs off after Danielle, he takes a bunch of her papers and stuff.
Yes, oh my god. I wouldn't have thought to do that.
I would not have thought to do that. I would have been like, I'm getting the hell out of here.
Yeah.
But he leaves the pictures behind.
Yes. I couldn't believe it. Does he go back for them?
I don't know.
We don't see him, do we?
We
So
don't
I
see him
remember
going...
noticing the pictures being left.
Yeah, because it's like he picks up a bunch of papers and he gets the gun and he climbs up the ladder, and I think then it kind of refocuses and they're still on the table. So I think he left them there.
Which is
Crazy.
So we end the episode, he doesn't even have the picture of Nadia?
I don't think
What are we going to do? How's he can't go back. Get the photo.
Maybe
and
he
then looks
can
like,
go back.
Hi, Rousseau, just popping in to grab my photo. Sorry, so sorry about this.
Maybe he can go back though. Like maybe he clearly wants to help her to kind of reacquaint herself with people. Maybe he's like, he does want to go back and speak to her again. Maybe that's like a promise of him coming back. I don't know.
I know, however, that made me think of, like well, maybe you don't know, in like, not that I'm particularly well read in this genre, but in like sort of period dramas or Regency novels and things like this.
Oh, I've forgotten my glove.
The glove. I left my glove.
No, I was watching Little Women with Dad last week, and it's like, oh, I left my glove at Laurie's house. Whatever will I do?
I'll have to go back.
I'm gonna have to go back and get my glove because it's winter and it's cold. And I'm like, I know what you're doing.
Yeah, completely.
It is kind of like that in a really sort of weird and twisted manner. Yeah, but that he thinks obviously she knows all about the island and he's trying to find the radio tower.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've got to take all these things.
Yeah. It's so like, I mean, just Rousseau as a character is so interesting, but it's also interesting that she doesn't then come with him to be with the rest of the crash. Like, she doesn't then become a main character. Spoiler alert, guys. Unfortunately, we don't get enough Rousseau, in my opinion.
She comes back.
She should be in every episode, though.
We will tell you she does come back, but she doesn't come back as a main character.
Yeah. We don't see her enough. In my humble
But whenever we do see her, it's brilliant.
It's incredible.
Always an exciting
get so
episode.
Excited.
Always an exciting episode when Rousseau comes around.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, it's like she still remains solitary.
just like in the title of the episode. Okay, so let's do it. Let's power through your notes. And I'm going to make one comment on all of them.
Excellent. Hurley's cackle.
Yes. When does Hurley cackle?
When Jack says, like, or is it Jack? Someone goes, where are you going? And he just goes, or something like that. And it made me laugh. He has a great cackle. I just thought I'd point that out. He has a great cackle.
Okay.
I know what you are. That's in quotation marks. And then chains around the feet, comma, sweating, comma, delirium.
What? I know what you are. Chained around the feet.
Comma, sweating, comma, delirium. I reckon that's the first Sayid and Rousseau scene. When he's like this in the bed. It's really close to him and he's like all sweating and he's like,
I guess.
what's going on? And
I know what you are
says,
I know like one of them.
Yeah. So I reckon that's in reference to that. I probably just thought that was cool. I think it is cool.
I mean, yeah, it's cool.
She's dead because of me. We talked about that. How did the actors keep a straight face? Jack and Michael.
Yeah. What to do, man? That really it had the energy of a lot of the silly bloopers that make it into the blooper reels. Like, there's a lot of moments in the blooper reels where they, like, start a scene really seriously and then one of them says something really silly. And that really had the energy of those moments.
Yeah, I like that because it's like... So we mentioned that maybe the monologue was a little bit self-aware, a little bit about the television industry. Perhaps it was like the writers anticipating a bit of a backlash to being like, why is Hurley building a golf course?
Maybe.
This is why. But that also shows like that the writers are having fun. You know, like there's actually jokes in the show, and there's like comedy in the televisography. I'm gonna use that so much. I don't even give a shit.
You know what's something I noticed? This is something really small and really minor, but a lot of moments in this episode I noticed were images that come up when you search for Sayid on Google. When you like look for images of Sayid on Google Images.
Why have you been looking for Sayid on Google Images?
No reason. All of them are from this episode because it's the grey shirt and then he's got like the thing on his head. That's in a lot of the pictures, and also whenever I trying to find a picture of him as a soldier at one time, I forget why, and the only picture I could find was him when like Nadia walks past, and then it kind of refocuses and it's just him in the shot.
Yeah.
Just a little thing.
I felt like I recognised clips from edits a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was one bit where he was like sat on a chair and looking over his shoulder, and I was like, oh, that's in a bunch of edits.
Yeah, I've definitely seen bits from this episode.
The makeup department. Shout out to the makeup department. Hello. This is mainly in reference to the different times when Sayid goes to visit Nadia in her little cell.
Yeah.
And she has like bigger eye bags in each one, and she like looks like thinner and more sort of ill, I guess, malnourished, I guess is the word. And yeah, I noticed that and I was like, that's cool.
No, that is really cool. I think the progression of those flashbacks is really evident in the way that the scenes are constructed, and I really like that they don't bother commenting on it. There's no like, it's been 6 months, Nadia, come on, just talk. Like, it's always just, it's very in the moment, and you really have no idea how long they kept her there, but like you can tell that time, you know, big chunks of time have passed in between just by like the construction and like the makeup and things like that. I think that's really brilliant.
Completely. I think one thing that seems quite consistent in what we've been saying about this episode is that the writing is subtle.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think that's always true, especially with some of the characters. Like, I think they wrote themselves into a bit of a corner with Sawyer as a character, because everything he says is basically on purpose a little bit cringe and just wankerish.
Yeah.
And so they're like, okay, we need Sawyer to have some kind of quip, and it always ends up being a bit, ugh, you know?
He's kind of, I think it's very easy to get... With Sawyer, you kind of get to a point and you've got nowhere else to go, because he's pushed it at this point of being at a point of his whole character is that he doesn't let anyone in and he's on his own, and at this point it's just like, and where do you go with that?
Not always true, especially in the Sawyer-centric episodes. We get a lot more depth of his character.
Definitely.
And I do think the writing in those ones is better.
When he's popping up as a side character, he becomes quite one note, I think, a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And the same with, I think, like Charlie.
Yeah.
Like Charlie has
And
a
Hurley.
lot. Charlie and Hurley have a lot of depth as characters, and you don't get to appreciate that a lot of the time because they get reduced to the kind of like, they're fun and they're happy and they're silly whenever they're just side characters, but as soon as they're like one of the main characters, you're like, oh my god.
So yeah, anyway, what we're saying is we don't always agree with the choices by the writers, and they are choices.
Quite often do not agree.
But in this episode, especially in all of Sayid's scenes, the scripts are really good, the dialogue's really good and subtle. And then I also just wrote about a brilliant moment that I completely forgot about, but I absolutely love, is Sayid's got the broken rifle, broken shotgun is a Resident Evil reference. He's got the broken rifle and Danielle is holding the rifle. Also, I love the bit where he goes, put the gun down, and she pulls the gun on him. Absolute girl boss. But he finds out his is broken and she's literally holding the gun on him and he just throws it to the side and goes, I'm not sick!
Yes! No, I love that. I love it when he like puts his arm and it's like a long shot of his whole body and he's just like,
I'm not sick!
And he makes him look really small for some reason. But like with the wide shot, I was like, oh, he's 3 sources long. He's so little.
Yeah, I love that bit. I think that scene is like staged in a really interesting way. It almost, I think half of it almost feels like theatre.
Yeah.
I don't know if you got this, but I really got it when Rousseau like crouched down. She like crouches and then Sayid goes over and kind of puts his hand on her shoulder or something or goes to talk to her in a bit more of an intimate way. And I was like, this could be a play.
Yeah, this episode could almost be a play. I've read a play, oh my god, I can't remember what it was called. The Island by
No way.
It's called The Island.
No, I have heard of it.
Give me a second, I'll find the author. Yes, The Island by Ethel Fugard is like, it's a kind of it's a strange sort of adaptation of Antigone.
Yes, no, I've heard of it. It's like set in a prison?
Yeah, and it's set in a sort of prison camp, and the beginning scene, actually, I haven't watched it before, but I've read it. The beginning scene, I think, must be really impactful of like, basically there's these 2 men and they are in a cell together, and they're just forced to do these menial tasks all day, and what they're doing is like, each one of them has to fill a wheelbarrow full of sand and then take it over to the other person's pile and tip it out.
Oh, wow. Oh, I love that.
And that's all they're doing all day from like, for like 12 hours.
Oh.
And then they're sitting in the cell afterwards and one of them says like, it's awful, I hated you so much every time you came over with your wheelbarrow. I just wanted to attack you. And it's like, it's a really brilliant play. It's only 2, it's like a 2-man play.
Yeah.
And it's a lot about, they talk a lot about being brought to the camp and how they were both imprisoned for like revolutionary action. And they talk about, one of them is like, but I'd do it all again. And the other one is like, I wouldn't, I don't want to be here anymore. Like,
That's so cool. That's very sort of Beckett-like. Have you read any Beckett?
I don't think so.
The kind of like meaninglessness and the kind of just tipping it out and piling it back up again, that feels like something he'd do. He's very about the kind of looping actions and everything's enclosed in this space and everything's pointless kind of vibe.
No, it's a brilliant play, and actually this episode kind of, there's a lot of parallels between that of them being trapped in that kind of hole together and navigating the kind of their pasts and admitting to their crimes and feelings that they wouldn't admit to other people.
Yeah.
Like, I think with a lot of the depth of Sayid that you get from this episode, you wouldn't get if he was talking to anyone else.
Yeah, it gets very intense very quickly between those 2.
And I think there's a level of understanding between them that's almost immediate, where Sayid, is asking who's Alex and Danielle is asking who is this woman in these photographs, and neither of them wants to admit it, and they have that kind of immediate connection of, we have these really awful intense pasts, and that actually began at around the same time, because 16 years prior to the plane crash is, what is it, like 1988?
2004, yeah.
And the Gulf War is like 1990 to 1992. Right,
okay, yeah.
Which is obviously the war that Sayid is in during these flashbacks. So this is a weird thing to think about, is, well, all that was happening with Nadia, Danielle was on the island killing her husband.
That's crazy. Danielle, like, she didn't even see the millennium. She didn't have to worry about Y2K.
I know, she didn't know the world was going to end. I mean, well...
maybe already had, but yeah.
Wow, That's a crazy thing
She
to
didn't
think
know
about.
about the financial crash.
She doesn't know any of those
Doesn't know
things.
about any of it. Oh my god.
No, it's insane. And like,
Actually, has the financial crash happened yet?
I don't-
Isn't that 2008?
oh yeah, that is 2008. So none of them know about that.
No.
Not even the writers.
Can't wait for that plot point when they bring the 2008 financial crisis into the show.
When it reaches the island.
Honestly, the price of bananas these days skyrocketed.
$4 just for a banana. I mean, that's crazy. But yeah, they have a sort of immediate connection that is incredibly intense, and I think a lot of the depth and development that comes from both of them wouldn't have happened unless they were in that situation together. And I think that's really, really brilliant.
We've gone quite highbrow today, haven't we?
Yeah.
Talking about theatre.
We're getting into textual with it.
Literature.
You've just
I have
ruined it.
I'm
You've just
sorry.
ruined the whole thing. But I would highly recommend The Island.
please.
It's a brilliant, brilliant play. I
really
studied
wanna
it.
read it.
I studied it last year. And actually what's really interesting is it's about like the kind of racial I don't know I've immediately lost all vocabulary to articulate it, but like racism and racial profiling and stuff in South Africa, and actually when the play was first written it couldn't be performed in South Africa where it was written, because they would have been arrested and sent to one of those places. It was the inspiration behind it was actually that a theatre company was just putting on a production of Antigone, and then one of the actors got arrested and sent to one of these places for like 100 days or something. And then when he came back, he talked to the playwright Ethel Fugard about his experience, and he then wrote The Island based on that. So it's incredibly authentic, and it's really quite raw, and knowing that that's based on something real, it's really, really incredible.
Wow. Oh, I definitely have to read this now. It was on my reading list for my course and I did not read it. But you've made it sound way cooler than they did.
Oh, 100%. I would highly recommend. I'm so sorry to anyone who doesn't give a shit about theatre, but I am in fact doing a drama degree, so you will be hearing these things.
So go fuck yourself. Let's bring it back to Lost, because one thing that I really wanted to talk about, I love this episode because of Rousseau and because of Nadia and because of Sayid, finally getting Sayid's backstory and getting an episode that centers on him, and all of his content is brilliant.
It's like so satisfyingly done as well. Like, you want a Sayid backstory for a really long time, and then what you get is so incredible.
The payoff is great.
And so satisfying.
But the main reason that I love this episode is because of the insane lore drop that you get.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
So we need to unpack this. We get introduced to not only the fact that there's another person living and surviving on the island, and she's built this kind of shack and all of this, but we get the implication that there are other people on the island, we get the whispers as a concept, which we've touched on.
Also the knowledge of someone of survival for years.
Yes. And it's kind of obviously when you first find out that the transmission's been playing for 16 years, the kind of horror that sets in is no one came to rescue her. We could be here for that long. But it's also this is the reality of what happens if you have to survive that long in this environment, And obviously that's very scary, and she's very scary in many ways, but she's a really cool character. But one thing that we have, so the sickness, we mentioned it, but I love the concept of the sickness because we get so many things that are kind of creepy and or mystical and or intriguing and or sci-fi-y in this episode, like the music box, like the cable on the beach, like the whispers. Do you know what I mean? So for me, the sickness is way more intriguing than just they got some kind of Lyme's disease and died.
Imagine if the sickness was Lyme's disease.
Plot twist, Lyme's disease. The sickness is it's so intriguing and cool.
No, I think it's incredible
as a concept.
And I think the way that it's introduced and that it is incredibly vaguely talked about. Mm-hmm. There's never any specifics that we get from Danielle. It's just they were sick. Yeah. I had to protect them.
It's the vaguest of the terminology as well. It's very sci-fi coded. It's very kind of like a post-apocalyptic like piece of media where they just say like after it happened, or they don't name it or something like that.
It's almost like finding a black box.
Yeah.
Like what Sayid, because Danielle struggles so much to interact with Sayid, it's almost as if he's found a black box of this science expedition in the form of a human being.
And that's kind of all he's going to bring back to the others as well.
Yeah.
If he makes it back. I mean, we've got no idea, but...
If the Whispers don't get it.
Me when I get you. He's only going to bring back kind of like, well, he's got these papers, but other than that, it's like just hearsay.
Just this really vague information. He doesn't know anything specific about what really happened to them, other than that they were on a science expedition, they crashed. She's the only survivor.
The exciting thing is, exciting, I don't know. Exciting, yeah, it's exciting.
Let's go with exciting.
Is that there is now another danger that all of these survivors of the plane crash have to battle with. What if there is something on the island that's infecting people?
And like the fact that it's so vague as well just means it's such a looming threat of like, they can protect themselves against the boar. Yeah. They can protect themselves against the polar bear. They can't fight the monster, but they can run away from it. They've survived encounters with the monster. But anyone could get sick.
Yeah.
Any of them could get... What if it's the rash?
Oh my god.
What if the rash guy is sick?
Oh my god. Oh my god.
And they've all been playing golf.
We've just cracked the conspiracy.
And it's fine. And it's like this idea that just like, it could be literally anything.
Yeah.
Like one day...
This is why you never see him again. He dies from the sickness.
He wanders off into the forest in like a feverish rage, and then Danielle shoots him. But yeah, like at any moment, any of them could get like, what if, say, he throws the gun down, he goes, I'm not sick. What if he is?
He might be.
What if he is? What if Danielle's right?
Oh, it's like, it's so...
It's crazy.
And the thing is, listeners, I'm not going to... We're a spoiler-free podcast, but the concept of the sickness does come up again in other...
It does return.
You watch out for it. Because I want us to try and piece this mystery together.
It's subtle.
Over the course of this podcast.
Yeah, there's a subtle kind of underlying idea of this sickness that from this point the seed's been planted and it keeps growing and growing. And it's just... Again, it's an instant of the writing being very subtle and very kind of... But
I don't think this is good. Like, it is good at this point.
I think it's good. This is something we disagree on.
Yes.
On the explanation of the sickness and the resurgence of the sickness.
This is why I'm pointing it out now, because I don't want to, indicate what's going to happen next. But what I want is for all of you troops out there, be vigilant. I want us to pick up on every indication of the sickness as we go through.
And analyse
on this journey together. Analyse it. We need our, poster board with the red thread going between the different bits. We need to crack this, because it is bugging me. If you're commenting on our YouTube videos or our Instagram posts or anything like that, please keep it spoiler free. Just let us know what you think of the sickness in this episode, how it's presented in this episode. Do you think Danielle is sick? Do you think she's alright? Do you think Sayid is sick? What do you think in terms of the sickness in this episode? But if you have watched the whole show, give us a DM.
Yeah.
Because we'd be interested to hear
if you'd like to leave a longer comment, if you just put like a big spoiler warning at the top of a longer comment, if you'd like to hear from lots of other people as well, have a bit of a discussion about it. But absolutely send us a message. We'd love to talk to people about their opinions and what they think on these more spoiler leaning questions.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Amazing. Did you have any more notes in your many 3 pages of notes to discuss? Because I don't have anything left. I think we've really covered the basis of how perfect this episode is.
It's so good. You kind of said this with their acting, how both Nadia and Sayid are quite reserved, but then as soon as the escape is happening, the energy definitely picks up. I noticed it with the camera as well.
Yeah.
The televisography. The camera's super shaky.
There's a lot of cuts as well, from what I remember off the top of my head. I think there's a lot of the scenes between those two, it's like there's the long shot of them together, and then the dialogue is very slow, and so there is like a cutting between their faces, but it feels very slow. Whereas with the escape scene, it's a lot faster and shorter shots, and I think that really picks up the urgency of the scene.
1000%. I think they do do I mean tactful or tactical? Like a tactful shakiness. Tactical shakiness. Tactical.
And like an intentional shakiness.
Yeah, they do a tactical shakiness quite a lot in the televisography of this show.
It pops up a lot, I think. Sometimes used better than others, and I think this is a very good use of the shaky camera.
I don't agree with, but this one I think is good. And yeah, my final note is just this episode literally has everything.
It's brilliant. I really have no notes on this episode. I think it's really, really brilliant and incredible. Good. And so much about it is amazing.
Yeah.
And like, we talked a few episodes ago about like also, giving the characters a day off.
Yeah.
And being like,
Jack gets a day off.
Jack gets a day off. We said back in White Rabbit, we said, oh, he needs to go crazy in the woods for a bit, and then that's his day off. He gets a day off in this episode, and that's really brilliant. And of course, Sayid is having the opposite of a day off.
Oh my god, yeah.
But it's like he's carrying the brunt of all the stress for all of them, and everyone else gets to relax a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really lovely way to structure the episode as well, because I think there's only so much tension a person can take, and at a certain point you struggle to consume a media anymore if it's just constantly at this high level. You would just struggle to be invested in it anymore, and I think with the way this episode is written, it does a really good job of being able to just kind of bring you down a bit and help you to relax a little bit, and not to be for it to be really intense and scary and horrible the whole time.
Yeah.
I think that it's really, and it's not done in such a way that it feels like insensitive.
I was gonna say a similar thing. When I was like, I couldn't believe it when we rewatched it, and like the Rousseau's introduction and Sayid's backstory was happening in the same episode as the golf course plot. I was like, are you kidding? This is all the same episode? But actually, having finished it on this rewatch, I was like, oh, it actually doesn't feel jarring at all.
No, it really slots together quite well, and in a way that like feels really weird to say that it fits together really well, because they're such massively contrasting plot lines, all three of them really.
Yeah.
But they really do fit together perfectly.
They do. And I just get so excited when we get like our teeth into some new lore.
Yeah. So we really get some new lore. I think we've gotten to a point of establishing a lot of the lore. I like that the lore that we establish in this episode is not concerning a character's backstory. It's like we're learning about the island now.
Yeah, that's what I love. Because
the first couple episodes, the pilot episodes, are about learning about the island, and then we've had a bit of a break of learning about the characters, and now it's like, okay, and now we can learn about the deeper lore and the deeper history of the island, and I really, really love that.
Yeah, it's so exciting.
All right, well, is that everything?
Yeah, I think it is.
Thank you so much for listening then.
Thank you very much.
This has been amazing. I've really enjoyed this episode.
Yeah. And we've got another fun one next week.
Yes,
because it's
next
Raised
week
by Another next week, which is an
episode 10, Raised by Another.
We love.
I love this episode. And I'm definitely going to have lots to say about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, as always, follow us.
Yeah.
You can find us at lostallcaps, pretty much everywhere.
lostallcaps-podcast usually.
Yeah, on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Tumblr, YouTube, all of that.
Spotify, obviously. Well, not obviously. You might be listening on YouTube. Hey, we're also on Spotify, gang.
If you want to sort of download and listen offline. I feel like an ad for Spotify now.
No. You can follow me, Ariel Hebditch.
Yeah, and Velvet Hebditch. We're, doing stuff.
Posting things, doing gigs.
You can follow at Spruce Moose Comedy to see Ariel and her...
You're doing a little plug for Spruce Moose.
Ariel and her friends doing their fun stuff.
Thank you very much. That's sweet.
And yeah, that's it for now, I think.
I think so. And please let us know in the comments how much you love Rousseau on a scale from 10 to she's the best thing to have ever existed.
A scale from 10 to 11. Mm-hmm. How brilliant is she? Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen any Rousseau hate.
You don't see enough content about Rousseau.
You don't see enough content about Rousseau in general, but I think, like, I don't think I've ever seen anyone say they don't like Rousseau. Good. So, let us know if you love her, and you know if you do hate her.
I will fight you in the comments.
No, don't let us know.
I'm joking. We respect everyone's opinions here.
I would be interested to hear why, actually, if you do dislike Rousseau, because I think she's a brilliant character.
Yeah, I literally love her. She's my favourite.
And yeah, thank you so much, and we will see you next week for Raised by Another.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.